Shohei Ohtani, you are the GOAT. We'll break down Thursday and preview Week 18 up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Nola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Masuka.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on July 28th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris the Welsh. Today on the show, we are going to recap all of Thursday's action. We're going to play some Fantasy Feud. We only had a 5-game slate, so let's have a little fun. Week 19 sleepers, 2-star pitchers, and we just had a trade. David Robertson traded to the Miami Marlins. We'll break it all down. Before we get started, please like this video and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. And if you're listening on the audio side, download, follow, and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. Welsh, fantastic shirt for Kokomo Friday.
Yeah, this is my of my dad wear. This is the super dad wear, and I was trying to be festive. I have another one which is like absurd, but I was out at a Arizona Complex game, so check that off your scorecards for the show today. I was out there, and it just 100,000 degrees and sweaty, so I just changed into dad shirt part 2. But I felt very I should have had like a better hat, but I got the cactus. I don't know, maybe a little vibe. So I was trying to vibe out for you guys today. Which, by the way, you two, I didn't get the memo on the red shirt thing we were doing today. You guys look very matching. You guys, it's a great fit you both have.
Scott, are you wearing a dad shirt too? I'm trying to figure out what's going on there.
No, I have a Michael Harris is him shirt. Oh. Him with 2 eyes for, Michael Harris II. It's courtesy RotoWear. I mean, I paid for it with my own money.
We're all going RotoWear here because I got the Shohei Ohtani shirt. Shout out to RotoWear. We're always giving them shout outs. Great job there. Anyway, let's get into the action.
Holy cow! How about that?
How about that? A day for the ages for Shohei Ohtani. I'm just going to take this one. Started off yesterday. The Angels announced that they're buying. They take Ohtani off the market. They trade for Lucas Giolito. And what happens on Thursday? Shohei Ohtani shoves all in. Incredible day as both a pitcher and a hitter. In game 1 of their doubleheader at the Tigers, he tosses a complete game, the first of his career. A shutout, the first of his career. He only allows 1 hit, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts in that performance, 13 swinging strikes on 111 pitches, only allowed 4 hits. And he had been scuffling recently as a pitcher, but man, put it all together in this one. And it was a dominant performance, down to a 3.43 ERA, 107 whip, 156 strikeouts, the 4th most among all pitchers in baseball. What happens in game 2? 2 for 3 with a double dong. That's right, a complete game and 2 home runs in the same day. Now up to 38 home runs on the season, batting .298. He's got an OPS up over 1,000. He's actually 1st in home runs in baseball, 2nd in RBI, 5th in runs scored, 1st in OPS, and I mentioned 4th in strikeouts. Do you guys have any words?
I have a question. This is something pseudo started off air. This performance, 9 innings, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts, 2 homers. Insane. So the question, but Frank didn't even get into this, so I asked both of you. First off, what is more impressive? What Ohtani did today or hitting for the cycle? Scott, you kind of gave your answer off air, at least on this one. So do yours real quick. I want to get Frank, and then I'm going to step up the levels.
Well, easily. I would say just the pitching half of what Ohtani did. Just the pitching half of what Ohtani did is more impactful than the cycle.
Frank?
I won't go as far as saying that, but I think everything included on the day is more impactful than a cycle, yes.
Okay. What is more impressive? 9, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts, 2 homers, or a no-hitter, Scott White?
Okay, so you rephrased the question now. I'll point out.
I think it was about the same.
No, you said which is more impressive. You used a different verb. I forget which verb which is more. I don't know what you said before. I was pointing out off air that a complete game shutout of any kind is just as impactful as a no hitter. I mean, in terms of wins and losses, the fact that you allow no hits. I mean, whether you allow no hits or 10 hits, if it's a complete game shutout, you've helped your team's chance. You've helped your.
You were kind of
winning. Just
you were kind of saying like no runs and 1 hit essentially was the same as a no hitter. So you were not me. You were degrading no hitters. Scott White hates no hitters. I don't. I love them and think they're special. I'm sorry, you don't love them.
Well, you're saying impressive now, like it's a rare feat. That's okay. It's a rare feat to throw a no hitter. This is rarer, of course. But just to kind of take this further, I don't know that there's anything a hitter can do that is more significant than a pitcher throwing a complete game shutout. Like if a pitcher throws a complete game shutout, he's automatic.
Scott, adjust your mic because you moved around a little bit and now it's not picking you up.
There's nothing a hitter can do if a pitcher throws a complete game shutout, he's automatically the player of the game because your team just has to scratch out 1 run for you if you do that.
So that's why it's like I'm saying the feat of a no hitter versus a complete game shutout with 2 homers. It sounds like you're saying Ohtani today is bigger than a no hitter. Okay, yes. Frank?
Yeah, I think what Ohtani did today in its totality, I mean, if you run through anything that you could do on a single day of baseball, this is probably the most impressive, right?
Well, then it leads to the final one here. Frank, we'll start with you. What is more impressive, Ohtani's day today or a perfect game?
I'm going to say Ohtani. That might be crazy. But if you just think about it from a historical context, how many times has someone thrown a complete game in one day and also hit 2 home runs?
Totally.
Less than a perfect game, yeah. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's unfounded. Like we don't have 100 years of players doing these type of things. But if you want to talk about the pantheon of the impressive, baseball is so special in that the feats that baseball can provide are, I think the magnitude is so much bigger than what other sports kind of have. You got like a hat trick in hockey and stuff, but a perfect game is the top. I would argue to the death that there's no other like feat in sports that is bigger and a single accomplishment than a perfect game. Scott, perfect game or Ohtani's day today?
Yeah, so I can't say with 100% certainty that in the years since Babe Ruth or whenever, that just a true pitcher has never had a day where he homered twice. Just a conventional pitcher has had a day where he homered twice and also pitched a shutout. I can't say with 100% certainty that I don't know. Like
I do remember Micah Owings with the Diamondbacks like 15 years ago, hit 2 homers in a game and pitched in that game as well.
Yeah,
but I think he only went 5.
Happened.
So
it's happened. I'm sure that a starting pitcher homered twice in a game. So
I think it was against the Braves.
Performance like?
Yeah. Micah Owings wasn't that good. He did win a
Silver Slugger. No, he wasn't that good as a pitcher. No. We're going to remember any perfect game longer than we're going to remember this day from Shohei Ohtani.
Okay. I mean, do you say I'm going to tell you right now, perfect game is above this. This is special, but Frank just said it's not, and I'm still dicey on where you are because you're saying we're going to remember a perfect game over this. I mean, do you think so? You think any perfect game is going to be bigger than what Ohtani did today? I mean, if you believe that, then you're with me on the perfect game.
You keep shifting the goalpost on me here.
I think I'm keeping it in this general range. What have I changed?
Ohtani basically single-handedly won game 1, and you can't a perfect game. Like I was saying for a no-hitter, whether it's a perfect game or just a regular shutout, your impact on your team winning and losing is the same. So, like, it's a question of, is it more impressive or does it matter more? That, like, there's a distinction there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said matter. I guess like I'm kind of I'm adult's brain. I'm just like, perfect games are so special. This was so special. We don't have anything to match it up against, and that's why I did these levels. We don't have to keep going on it. Everyone's going to feel differently. Some are going to say Ohtani. Some will say perfect games. What was there, 24 perfect games or whatever? We also have none like this. But I think the main point to take away and how special it was what Ohtani did today is on the level of the no-hitter perfect game type of thing that no other player could do. And as Frank had said, I think off air, I don't know if he said it on air, but if you had both versions of this player going like in a Yahoo format, it was like over 50 points scored today. It's beyond, we could go on it for an hour. We won't do it anymore, but it's crazy.
A commenter, Dylan Anderson, pointed this out. I just Googled it and confirmed. June 23rd, 1971. Rick Wise for the Philadelphia Phillies hit 2 home runs and threw a no-hitter.
Wow. And threw a no-hitter? I mean, that's insane. That's the most insane. That is the single most insane performance in baseball over a perfect game.
Forget Ohtani.
Who's Ohtani?
He allowed a hit.
What was this guy's name again?
Rick Wise.
Let's get a plaque for Rick Wise. That guy is special. That guy is special.
That is crazy. Crazy stuff there. The point here is I know we're all kind of a prisoner of the moment, but just appreciate this, man. Appreciate what we are watching with Shohei Ohtani because it is fun and it is really amazing to watch. I hope the Angels go on to do big things in the second half and hopefully they make a run, get into the playoffs and make some noise. That at least is the hope for me. Scott, let's slide over to you. Your oh my goodness gracious player of the night.
Well, I picked the second most impressive player who wore an Angels uniform today, and that's Hunter Renfroe. Hunter Renfroe. I almost called him Runter Renfroe.
You almost went, "Row."
Yeah, I'm all tongue-tied today, as per our usual arrangement. Hunter Renfroe in Game 1 went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, and then in Game 2, he went 3 for 5 with a home run and a triple. So between the 2 games, he hit for the cycle and then some. 6 hits in all. Now, we haven't talked about Hunter Renfroe much this year, in part because, he's rostered in a lot of leagues and there's not many opportunities to talk about those players usually, but in part because he's been terrible. His previous 47 games leading up to this 6-hit day, Hunter Renfroe was batting just .208. This game obviously forced me to look into that a little more. And the overall batted ball profile isn't that different from the guy we've seen the past couple years, who's basically been more or less a must-start player, maybe less so in a 3 outfielder league, but at least in the discussion to be starting in a 3 outfielder league. Strikeout walk rate's pretty normal. Max exit velocity normal. Average exit velocity down slightly. Mostly it's the barrel rate. The barrel rate entering today was 7.1%, when usually for him it's between 10 and 13%. So, that explains probably the little bit of a dip in average exit velocity and hard hit rate. And I've said before, I feel like barrel rate, when you're assessing it over the course of the season, it's mostly an indicator of how hot the hitter's been. So I don't know that the low barrel rate is the explanation for Renfroe's struggles as much as Renfroe's struggles are the explanation for the low barrel rate. Basically what I'm saying is he's probably going to be typical Hunter Renfroe going forward, and this day is a reminder of who that can be. And if you want to treat him like a top 40 outfielder, you're probably right to do so.
I did have 2 waiver wire outfielders written down here, Scott. You let me know if you would hold on to Renfroe or potentially drop him for one of these 2 names. His teammate, Taylor Ward, went 2 for 8 across the 2 games with 2 home runs, 3 runs, and 3 RBI. He is having a big July, batting .302 with 5 home runs and a .1058 OPS. Tyler O'Neill went 3 for 3 with a double and a walk, and he had 3 hard hits in this game, including a single that was nearly 111 exit velocity.
Hardest hit ball of the year for O'Neill.
Nice. In 8 games since returning from the IL, he has 9 hits, 4 doubles, and a stolen base. We know there's big upside with Tyler O'Neill. Will he be on the Cardinals after the deadline? I don't know. But, again, there is some upside with him. Scott, would you drop Renfroe for either Taylor Ward or Tyler O'Neill?
Of the 3, I think O'Neill has the most upside, but it's been a long time since he showed us that upside. So I don't think I would. I think Renfroe is my preference of those 3. I will point out, though, that Ward's playing time has become consistent again. I have to remember earlier on he was losing at-bats to Mickey Moniak. I guess the Mike Trout injury changed that, and Trout's going to be back sooner than later. So there may still be playing time issues in Ward's future, but he's going well right now.
The three most added outfielders on CBS right now, Sal Frelick, Chas McCormick, and Will Benson. Would you drop Hunter Renfroe for any of those three names?
Frelick, Benson, and who was the third?
McCormick.
McCormick.
Yeah, McCormick is the one that got me thinking,
I like Benson a lot. I might drop him for any of those three. Just like I don't know if I was ranking them rest of season. I don't know that I'd put Renfroe at the bottom of that list, but in leagues shallow enough where those guys are available, I think I'd pursue their upside over Renfroe.
All right, Welsh, you are up. Your player of the night.
So, very good performance from Justin Steele. Justin Steele has done a lot of those. I wonder if we are, though, with the trade deadline coming up, if Justin Steele's time to maybe be looking to move off is here. So, over his last 6, actually including tonight, this is going to add this back in, he's had 6 straight games of going 6. Of those 6, 5 of them have at least been 3 or less earned runs. So that's, 5 of 6 quality starts have been really good. So, we've seen that strikeout numbers are there. But one of the alarming things out of this start that he just had was the velo was down pretty significantly. Fastball was down by 1.5 miles. Slider was down. Changeup and curveball, we're not going to really necessarily pick on that or anything like that. But the fastball being down is worrisome. It averaged 90 miles per hour, where it's been just about 92. It's 90.5. 91.9 has been the year average, topping out at 92.5. Fastball wasn't awesome tonight necessarily from a swing and miss perspective. 24 swings, only 4 whiffs. The slider got it. And Steele is a primary 2-pitch pitcher. And you're looking at a guy that's got an expected ERA that is getting near, especially after this last performance, getting near a full run above. If not, it's at 3.7 at least, if this has been updated from Baseball Savant. So I look at Justin Steele, 2-pitch pitcher, fastball declining, maybe getting away with a few things. He does have a huge blow up in this period of time that when you have a sub-3 ERA with a declining fastball, even though the results are there for a team that's ready to sell off. I love Justin Steele. He's been an awesome pickup, late draft guy, whatever it is. I know people are going to be defensive about it, but from a fantasy perspective, with the trade deadline coming up and fantasy trades coming up, I think I might be honing in on Justin Steele as a player I might be trying to sell right now, regardless of the oh my from this game and him being able to, go 6, strike out 4, only gave up 1 earned run. The decline's got me worried, guys, and he has good visual numbers to bring back in a solid trade if you want to maybe get out now. But maybe I'm jumping the gun, Frank.
Well, so let me throw it back your way because I agree. It stood out to me that the velocity was down in this one. I think it's something to watch moving forward. But the fact that he is so good with lower velocity, he doesn't really rely on much velocity. And if you look at his fastball, it's very big on spin rate, 82nd percentile on spin rate. So I don't know that he needs crazy velocity if he's, throwing this fastball up in the zone and then the sliders down and, the spin rate, everyone's just kind of getting underneath the ball. Does the fact that he's a high spin fastball, does that not worry you as much when it comes to the velocity?
No, I mean, I like that. I think that makes it better. It's actually a better whiff pitch this year. It was 20.3 last year. It's almost 22 this year. The batting average against is 50 points lower than last year, but the expected batting average is only 0.25 less than it was last year, and the slider seems to be less effective. He's throwing the fastball more than he did last year, and the slider's usage has come down a little bit, but so have the whiffs, and the batting average is up. And it's just, there's less wiggle room. We talk about these guys, there's less wiggle room with 2-pitch pitchers. The spin is great. The control is great. He's still going to be a good pitcher. Like anything, when you talk about these things, it doesn't mean he's not going to be good, but this isn't like a Bieber situation. High spin rates with 4 or 5 pitches that he can work with. These are 2 pitches. This is a fastball that could be declining and a slider that's already a little bit less effective than it was last year. I just don't like that. And I guess if I'm being proactive, you have a guy that's got a sub-3 ERA, and that might come back with a haul, especially if you are trying to consolidate maybe pitching for some hitting. Maybe in a roto league, you're getting up on your innings, you're trying to get some hitting before the deadline. He's just a guy I think I would try to target out there. But to your point, there are players that just defy the odds, and he has been one of those guys. I just don't like some of the trends.
Well, a one-start sample of velocity being down 1 mile per hour doesn't usually move me. I will point out that Justin Steele was one of my 15 pitchers I wrote about like a week ago. 15 pitchers with innings limit concerns. With this start, Justin Steele is now less than 10 innings away from his career high. I put his concern level at medium because obviously you can exceed your previous high by dozens of innings, but it's harder to predict how you're going to perform once you're in uncharted territory with the innings. And so,
that's a great point that I didn't even bring up. I attach an innings concern to velo that comes right up on that. The team is going to know that as well. Hopefully the fantasy owners don't know that. If you do want to,
hopefully they didn't read the article.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully.
And yeah, I mean, if people are looking at ERA, they're look, 287 ERA, 11 wins. That's a really valuable pitcher. I see, despite those numbers, I see Justin Steele as pretty globby since he's not much of a strikeout pitcher. A lot of it, he's had a really low walk rate this year, which has helped, but that's not something we've seen a lot of in his history. So if you can sell him for somebody who's not globby, then regardless of what you think this particular start means with the velocity and the innings, then I think that's a smart move.
All right, today's glob count is now up to 2 so far, and I just said the word, so I guess that makes it 3 times. We said it a few times on yesterday's podcast without you here, Scott.
Not even me here. Come on, man. I'm the father of globbery.
Oh, well, there you go. Let's make it 4. Someone said new drinking game. Every time we say that word, we have to. Someone has to take a shot. I don't recommend doing that because
I don't either.
You're gonna fall out of your chair pretty soon. So don't do that. But yes, that is the latest trendy word and phrase that we have here on the podcast, courtesy of Scott White. So Justin Steele, a name there. You could look to try and sell high and cash in on now before your league's trade deadline is here. A couple other pitchers I wanted to mention in the same vein, just guys that are pitching well right now. Tanner Bibee has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in 7 straight starts. He was at the White Sox, 6 2/3 innings, 3 runs allowed with 6 strikeouts and 16 swinging strikes. I actually wrote down his last 6 starts. During that span, 173 ERA, 102 whip, over a strikeout per inning, nearly a 15% swinging strike rate for Tanner Bibee. And Kodai Senga put together another strong start up against the Nationals. 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts with 14 swinging strikes on 99 pitches. And over his last 6 starts, 241 ERA, 104 whip, 43 strikeouts over 33 2/3 innings. The walks, much more manageable, getting ground balls, limiting hard contact. Scott, I think there is a lot to like with both Tanner Bibee and Kodai Senga right now. I moved them. I know Senga's close to my top 30 now. I think Bibee, I put Bibee right at 40. I feel like he's earned that the way he's pitched recently.
I moved them up quite a bit in my latest rankings update too. I don't think I moved them quite as high as you did, but I'll pull that up and see what I can see. So I will point out that Bibee recently has begun throwing his curveball more. This was the second straight start he threw it about 15% of the time. Previously, he was throwing it like 8% of the time, and it has a good whiff rate and seems to pair nicely with the slider, and it might help explain why he's started to take off here. I think there's a lot of upside. I think Tanner Bibee is a pitcher with the potential to transcend the glob, which you have to like.
5.
Let me see. I have him 54th. I have Kodai Senga 32nd.
Yeah, you actually have Senga higher than me.
Yeah,
Bibee higher than you. So
for Senga, I get the feeling he's kind of like a less extreme version of Blake Snell. So you're not going to get the incredible highs, but you're not going to get the debilitating lows. Meanwhile, his walk rate's going to fluctuate. First 12 starts, 5.6 walks per 9. Last 7, 2.9 walks per 9. That's why he's been better recently. But I don't know that we can trust him to be a 2.9 walks per 9 guy going forward, just because he has been in his last 7 starts. I mean, in this one, 3 walks in 6 innings. So it might not be a bad idea to shop him when he's performing at his best either. I'm not saying it's essential. I'm not as worried about. Well, I don't think the return would be as good as for a Blake Snell, who we talked about as a sell high a couple days ago. I don't know that the return would be as good, and I don't know that my fears for Senga are as great as for Snell. So I don't think it's it's as imperative to shop him. But it wouldn't be a bad idea.
All right. Well, let's take our first break. And when we return, I've got one other waiver wire hitter and a few pitchers I want to bring up as well. We'll do that right after this.
It's time. The best Transformers yet.
There you go.
Is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is gonna be fun, man. Now let's talk to your manifestation.
Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, and a quick reminder to follow us on TikTok. If you dabble on the app, you can find us at FBT Pod, or if for some reason you're using TikTok on a computer somewhere, it's tiktok.com/@FBT Pod. We take some highlights from this podcast, from the In5 podcast, cover them up with highlights. So we're doing some fun things over there. Make sure to follow us on TikTok at FBT Pod. One other waiver wire hitter I wanted to mention, Jake Berger cooks up a double quarter pounder with cheese. 2 more home runs for him. He is batting .218 with 24 homers in only 310 plate appearances. His ISO this season is .312. That is tied for second in all of baseball with Matt Olson and trails only Shohei Ohtani. So the power is real. He's very streaky. He also strikes out a ton. Welsh, Jake Berger is 45% rostered, has first base and third base eligibility. He's about to get second base as well. Would you take him over other recent corner infield ads? We've talked a lot about Spencer Torkelson, Tristan Casas recently. Those guys have turned it on over the past month. Would you take Berger over either of those names?
Kind of want to find a spot for Berger, but not over those two. Definitely not over Casas or Torkelson. I mean, the thing that I have loved is like the barrel percentage and hard hit percentage has been like at elite levels the last 30 days. It's just like you said, the consistency is not there. I don't know. There could be something about, the defensive changes that he's playing and trying to figure out playing time that could be a part of it. I love the idea of him playing second base. I really do. But maybe this is going to be a version of Max Muncy. Maybe that's like the high end you can see, multi-position eligible, maybe playing in the infield, low batting average, higher power. I do think if this team does make some of these moves, Tim Anderson goes, there's always injury things. Berger can hit at the top of the lineup or moving up in the lineup, and he did hit 297 in May, 242 in April. So we've seen some batting average stuff. So I have some interest in him, but it's not going to be over those other two guys.
Somebody pointed this out to me on Twitter, and I hadn't realized his home road splits this season are insane. 264 batting average with 16 home runs and a 991 OPS at home this year. On the road, 171 batting average. Still has 8 home runs, but a 618 OPS. So maybe if you play in a daily lineup league, just get him in there whenever he's at home. Or if you're in a weekly lineup league and they've got 6 games at home, yeah, maybe that's when we're looking at streaming.
Does he think he's in Colorado? Does he think he's playing with the Rockies? That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know there with Jake Berger. But
He is on the road for this upcoming week.
All right, well, I'll just delete the past 3 minutes of the podcast when I edit now.
There are weeks beyond next week. It's fine.
That is fair. But I do agree. I like Jake Berger, especially if you need a middle infielder with pop. He's about to gain that second base. But I'm not taking him over Tristan Casas or Spencer Torkelson either. 3 waiver wire pitchers from Thursday. Josiah Gray, back-to-back strong outings after back-to-back rough outings. If you look at his game log, there's a lot of that in there. It's like, yeah, 2 good ones, 2 not so good ones. But it evens out, and he's got a 3.27 ERA on the season. The whip is still very high. In this performance at the Mets, 6 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts for Josiah Gray. Michael Lorenzen finally had his scoreless inning streak snapped against the Angels. 5 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, but had 16 swinging strikes. That was pretty impressive. Patrick Sandoval has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in the past 3 starts, and he was at the Tigers. 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts there. Scott, any interest here in Sandoval, Lorenzen, or Josiah Gray?
Not a lot. I still don't like the underlying numbers for Josiah Gray, as has been the discussion with him all year. Sandoval, yeah, he's not allowed many runs. 2 of his last 3 starts have been only 5 innings, and he's walking a bunch of guys and not striking out many guys. And I just think you're playing with fire there as well. Lorenzen has been the most usable, even though I think he's the least talented. And his start for this upcoming week is another favorable matchup against the Pirates. But I left him out of my 10 sleeper pitchers. I'm not sure he's going to be with the Tigers by the time that matchup comes up.
I was about to say, if he makes it, but doesn't that make, like, because I'm kind of into Lorenzen, and the rumors of the places he would go are exponentially even better. If he were to go to the Rays or the Astros or something like that, does that not get you going a little bit more on Lorenzen?
Oh, sure. I mean,
okay.
That might be enough to get him into the glob. Right now, he's just been
6.
I feel like he's been kind of phony baloney, Michael Lorenzen. But if he has a great offense backing him, then I'm a little more open-minded to him being Dean Kramerish in terms of fantasy usability. So yeah, let's see where he winds up. But he's the most rosterable of these three, but he's not like most rosterable.
I agree.
Scott, your mic is doing that thing again. Move it around, or maybe you should just stop moving. Just talk right into the microphone.
I like when you stared at it earlier. Just stare at it. Really give it the business.
Yeah, I don't think it's like an unplug and plug it in thing.
Okay.
Maybe where your body and
head is positioned. You know, it's these directional mics, so they don't pick up the ambient sounds. You have to talk. You have to talk like you're making out with it.
Yeah. Don't do that. Or
please don't.
I don't know. Maybe that would make for a nice. We can turn that into a TikTok and post that later on. Anywho, let's move on from the waiver wire pitchers here. We'll get back and get a few other standouts from Thursday later on. Let's hit some news and notes. Shohei Ohtani, for all the great that he did exit Thursday due to cramping. It's really hot out there. This guy's working overtime. I think he's going to be just fine. Lucas Giolito is scheduled to make his Angels debut Friday in Toronto. Scott, any quick thoughts on the move here? Giolito to the Angels.
Not beyond what was said yesterday. I know Chris Towers made a big deal of he's joining a 6-man rotation now. That's my biggest concern for Giolito too. How many 2-start weeks is he going to have rest of season? I do think there's a chance that they accommodate him and just have a very unpredictable rotation going forward, so they can keep him more or less on regular rest and space out the other guys more. There's a chance of that happening. Did you bring up his career numbers with the White Sox at their Park Guaranteed Rate Field? I think it's called.
No, we did not.
Okay, so he has a career 4.60 ERA at Guaranteed Rate Field. Everywhere else, Lucas Giolito has a 3.94 ERA. So he didn't like pitching there. In theory, Angel Stadium's a tougher place to pitch, not by much, but by a little. But maybe he'll just like pitching there more. I don't know. It's if you're looking for a reason to be optimistic about it elevating Giolito, that's the reason. I think he's kind of overachieved in general this year. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is his fantasy stock doesn't really change in my eyes. The biggest thing to watch for is does he start every 6th day now instead of every 5th day?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a wash there for Lucas Giolito. I guess one thing you could buy in on if you're into the conspiracy theories or whatever, he's going home. He's from California, so he's got a bit of a homecoming. Maybe he's more comfortable pitching there. He's a human. It might work out in his favor.
It's also kind of like not great, but I don't know if you guys saw. He also posted a couple weeks ago he's getting divorced. So that has probably mentally been something. He posted it at the All-Star game on an Instagram post. He had said that. So if you want to get into like the mental side of things, that has probably been a rough go for the year. And then going through that and then going home, maybe there's some positive vibes that kind of really get you back focused and going. So if you want to play that game at all, I think there's some things you can do.
We did have another trade. We mentioned it up at the top. David Robertson traded over to the Miami Marlins for, looks like, I don't know if both of these names are prospects, but they're definitely young players. Marco Vargas and Ronald Hernandez. Welsh, I guess we'll start here with you. Anything we need to know about the prospects the Mets received in this trade?
Like that, you're like, I think these are people. I think they got like actual
They're
people.
Not major leaguers.
It's not AI creations.
My thing is, I don't know if you can call every young player a prospect. Are they a prospect if they're not like a ranked prospect? I don't know.
Marco Vargas is a prospect. Other one we'll see, but Marco Vargas has been playing in rookie ball. 18 years old, middle infielder, hitting 283, 8 stolen bases, 2 homers, a 457 OBP. And this is the second straight year from the Dominican summer to the complex league where he has had more walks than strikeouts. It's nothing to necessarily like, oh, this is amazing, because that happens because the pitching is so atrocious. But for it to happen at both levels, I think that's actually a pretty big positive point. Big bat speed. He's actually been kind of one of those pop-up players that people have been focusing on. 120 at bats, not only the 2 homers, but he's got 11 doubles, which is pretty solid. He had 13 all last year in the Dominican Summer League, and it's 20 less games, so the power's starting to develop. 2 straight years of 400 OBP. There is a real potential that like this is actually a half solid get, but I will acknowledge like I'm a little like anytime I see a prospect I know, I'm like, ooh, this is cool. Like people were freaking out last night when I posted about me liking the trade that the White Sox got and Edgar Cuero. I was like, I actually like this.
And every return for a rental.
Everyone's like, no. Bleh. So
they got a top 100 prospect and then some for a
I didn't
rental.
think there was an offer like that anywhere else. And everyone was like, you should get more. It's a rental player. So maybe I have a little bit of a bias when I hear a name that I know, because sometimes you'll see these trades and it's like, who's that? And this was one that I know, and this was kind of a pop-up complex league player. So I like this, but I could understand why everybody wants things now, because Marco Vargas is like 4 or 5 years away at best, in the best situation here. But it's not a horrible return for whatever Mets fans thought they were going to get for David Robertson.
I like, Frank, how you started with the far off prospects as opposed to the redraft ramifications of this deal, which are.
I wanted to work the Welsh in. We haven't heard from him in a while. And I'm like, I don't know anything about these prospects, so the Welsh might know something.
Okay.
Let's talk about the ramifications in redraft leagues. Lots of moving parts here. Scott, I guess for both bullpens, do you think David Robertson automatically steps in as the closer of the Marlins? AJ Puck has struggled recently. And for the Mets, is it Adam Ottavino? Do you think they trade Ottavino as well? Because Brooks Raley picked up a save here on Thursday. What do you think about both?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty significant closer shakeup. I do expect David Robertson to be the closer going forward. And Skip Schumacher, Skip Schumacher hasn't messed around with it too much this year. He's had a set closer. He's had a set setup man. He hasn't done a lot of this, high leverage mixing and matching kind of stuff. The one hesitation is that their other 2 late inning guys, AJ Puck and Tanner Scott, are both lefties, and now they have a righty in David Robertson. They did just acquire Jorge Lopez, but I don't know how much they're going to trust him in high leverage spots yet because he struggled with the Twins. So that's the one hesitation. But I expect Robertson will be getting the saves going forward, and Puck is out of luck. For the Mets, my first reaction was to say, oh yeah, pick up Ottavino. He's been sort of the backup closer this year, but he's an impending free agent too. I think he has a player option. So it's very likely if the Mets traded Robertson, they're also going to trade Ottavino. Rayleigh's under team control for a while. Maybe he is actually the guy to pick up. I would almost go 50-50 with him at this point if I was distributing my fab dollars. The other interesting angle here is, I guess the Mets are sellers, huh? Like if they're trading their closer, they're packing it in, waving the white flag. And
I feel like we knew that, but maybe like you just needed the confirmation. Like we kind of all thought this was going to happen.
I mean, you could understand given how far back they are, but teams have made incredible runs in August and September, and they had so much. I mean, they have the highest payroll by far, right? Are we going to see like Scherzer, Verlander get traded potentially? Because that would make for a big trade deadline. We thought it was going to be kind of quiet with Ohtani being taken off the table, but I don't know. The Mets are involved, maybe not.
It's funny you bring that up. It's funny you bring that up, Scott, because there's a tweet here from A.B. Mastracco, who covers the Mets for the New York Daily News, and she writes, Billy Epler said the trade of David Robertson doesn't necessarily signal that the Mets are open for business. They're still listening on offers and gouging the market. I don't know.
They're under the yellow light trying to decide whether to hit the gas or brake.
Yeah. I know that the year the Cubs won the World Series, the Yankees traded Chapman to them, and they still kind of went for it. They might have even made the playoffs that year as like a wild card team. So it's not crazy to trade away your closer and then I guess still try to compete, but the next couple of days will tell us a lot about where the New York Mets are headed. Zach Eflin could potentially make his next scheduled start Tuesday against the Yankees after an MRI on his left knee didn't show anything overly concerning. Good news. Tommy Edman is scheduled to begin a rehab assignment Saturday. He's been out since July 7th with right wrist soreness. Mets manager Buck Showalter said that Starling Marte is still dealing with migraines. He may seek out a second opinion in the near future. Esteury Ruiz participated in batting practice and throwing on Thursday and will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Friday. Wilson Contreras was hit in the back of the head by Ian Happ's backswing in the first inning on Thursday and exited immediately. It was actually kind of a scary situation, but latest update says that he's expected to be in the lineup Friday, so maybe not so scary. Good news on Wilson Contreras. Miles Michaelis was ejected for throwing at Ian Happ on consecutive pitches after he hit Contreras with that backswing. So there you go, some drama there between the Cubs and the Cardinals. Ryan Helsley will throw another bullpen session Saturday. He's not eligible to return until mid-August. Mason Miller threw a 20-pitch bullpen session on Wednesday. He'll complete at least one more bullpen before throwing live batting practice. Welsh, would you be looking to stash Mason Miller? He's 31% rostered.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have any innings cap because of, we talked about how much he didn't pitch prior to this 30 total career minor league innings and he came up. He's not going to be under any restriction from that standpoint. I just do think that anything they would do is going to be pretty babied. So I'm cool with stashing, but my expectations would be relatively low. Even though he looked pretty good when he was up, I got to imagine we're going to work him in the innings, but, they threw him right out there and went crazy. But, yeah, stash him, see what happens, but keep low expectations.
Noah Syndergaard is scheduled to start for the Guardians on Monday in Houston. He was acquired in the Ahmed Rosario trade, and we did have a much lesser trade on Thursday as well earlier in the day. The Brewers acquired Carlos Santana in exchange for 18-year-old prospect Johnny Severino. Santana batting .235 this year with 12 home runs, 53 RBI, and a .732 OPS. It's a pretty sizable park shift and lineup upgrade for Carlos Santana. Scott, he is 34% rostered. Does this trade move the needle at all for you on Carlos Santana?
Not a lot. I mean, he's been kind of out of the usable category in fantasy for several years. Has kind of verged on that again this year. Put up pretty decent numbers with the Pirates. I'm curious what his expected home runs in Milwaukee would be. I hadn't looked that up yet. So he has 12 this year. If he played every game in Miller Park, according to StatCast, he'd have 12. So I do have him as a sleeper hitter for this week. Brewers have the best matchups. So
nice.
That Santana at least has that going for him.
That's American Family Field to you, Scott.
See, that's why I was like, I think it's guaranteed rate field where I can't keep up with.
Yeah, I used to know the names of all
names anymore.
I used to know the names of all the ballparks. I don't know them anymore. It's just that one has ingrained in my mind because I just know it's not Miller Park anymore for some reason. Let's take our final break, and when we return, Fantasy Feud. We'll play that, and then we'll preview Week 18 up next on Fantasy Baseball Today.
Someone hunted a hunter. This is the work of a serial killer. Think he thinks he can do a cop's job?
Drop your weapon! Stand down!
No one trusts a lone man in the wild.
Joe Pickett Season 2 is now streaming on Paramount+. Use promo code Pickett for 1 month free trial. Credit card required. Terms apply.
Welcome back in. Let's play some Fantasy Feud. For those who don't know, it's just like Family Feud. The way it works, I'll ask a question. One of you, or both of you, can try to buzz in and answer. If you get one of the right answers, then you choose whether or not you want to pass or play. If you play, you have to get all the right answers. And if you don't get them all, then your opponent has a chance to steal with one correct answer.
How do we buzz in?
You can say your name, Scott, or whatever kind of sound you want to make.
Just make a noise.
Welsh.
I have a buzz. I have a well-known buzz. You could say. I think you should say glob. I have a buzz. This is my buzzer. I go. So it's like a rooster-ish. So little Shakira.
What about turkey?
Yeah, that sounds like
turkey. I'm sorry, turkey. Yeah.
All right, so we got two more of those in there. The counter is up to 8 at this point. All right, let's play Fantasy Feud. Let's fire up some music here. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our first question. 8 players. Let me know. Is it too loud? Is
8.
it too loud?
A lot.
Maybe a little bit
just-
lower.
I just wish it was like
off.
a hoedown, like the original Family Feud theme, and it's not.
There's something like, I don't know, like that 80s type of music. Like that has a very, you're just like, it's unsettling to me, actually.
Try to jazz it up, and it's like not good enough for Scott. He wants to.
Nothing's ever good enough for me.
8 players. 8 players already have 15 home runs and 15 steals this season.
Oh, gosh.
Name them. 15. Welsh, you are up.
Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll is the number 2 answer on the board. Scott? Scott, you have a chance to...
Was it combined, you're saying? I guess Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, Ronald Acuna is number 1.
How did you order them? Is what I'm
I didn't. I
didn't add them up, but I know that there is one name at least that is higher than Corbin Carroll, and it is Ronald Acuna.
I should have said that, but I mean,
you didn't even put these in any particular order, is what you're telling me?
I mean, you know, it's...
I guess it only matters for this portion.
Yeah, I guess I should have just said that. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Scott, you get to decide. Pass.
I'm going to pass.
Ooh, all right, Welsh, you are up. 2 names already off the board, Ronald Acuna and Corbin Carroll. 8 players have 15 home runs and 15 steals. 6 are left. Do you have an answer?
Christian Yelich.
Christian Yelich is correct. He is one of them. Good job.
All right. Do I have to keep going? I have to guess every single one?
You have to.
You have to guess
Well,
every
or
single
you're leaving
one.
me a chance to steal if
my
you
God.
don't.
Okay, Bobby Witt.
You have
Junior?
up to 3 buzzers, by the way. Yes, Bobby Witt Jr. is also one of them.
Okay. What do I have? 4?
Yeah, 4 so far. 4 of 8.
Oh, man. I'm going to Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez is not correct.
Oh, yeah.
So that's your first of 3 buzzers, Welsh.
Crap. And like people are like screaming, like, what are you doing? What do you know? You don't get these.
It always happens that way. People think it's so easy, but when you're on the clock, it's really not that easy.
Oh man, I'm trying to envision all of the stolen base people in my brain right now, and I know I need to give an answer. Let's go with. I'm gonna just get one out of the way. Who the hell was I gonna just say? Mookie Betts. Let's just do that. Let's get that out of the way because I know it's
Mookie
incorrect.
Betts does not qualify. He does not have enough stolen bases.
Julio Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez is correct. Julio has 17 home runs and 23 steals on the season. So you currently have 5 of 8.
Dang. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Fernando Tatis is correct. You have 6 of 8.
Now I'm sweating. Sweating over here.
Just get it wrong. Get it wrong.
Okay, the last 2. Oh, with the 15 homers. Oh, man, I want to get these right, but I'm not going to get them. This is a weird one. Anthony Volpe?
Anthony Volpe is not correct. So you got
homers.
6 out of 8. Scott, you have the opportunity to steal.
I'm going to steal it, baby. You ready? Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker is correct.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Scott swoops in with the steal, and Kyle Tucker is actually
Good answer.
Kyle Tucker is the name that I wanted to highlight on this list. Over the last 28 days, he is the number 1 overall player in Roto, the number 1 hitter in points leagues during that span, batting .390 with 8 home runs, 5 steals, tons of counting stats, has 18 home runs and 19 steals on the season. The one name that you guys did not get on the list,
Fraley?
Francisco Lindor. 19 home runs and 17 steals. He has been on a tear since the start of June. So again, the 8 names, Acuna, Carroll, Fernando Tatis, Bobby Witt Jr., Lindor, Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Tucker, and Christian Yelich. Are you guys ready?
You know who just missed that list, by the way, just real quick? Ha-Seong Kim just missed it. 14 homers, 19 stolen bases. I wanted to say Ozzie Albies. That was one. I knew that would have been incorrect. So good job, Scott. I'm going to get smoked in this game. Good. All right, let's go.
All right, let's go. 8 qualified starting pitchers have a swinging strike rate over 14%.
Really?
8
All right.
qualified.
I wasn't let you go.
All right, Scott, you're up.
Shane McClanahan.
Shane McClanahan is correct. He is the number 2 answer. Welsh, you have a chance to get the number 1 answer.
Spencer Strider.
Spencer Strider is the number 1 answer. I know, it's so crazy that Scott got the Ronald Acuna portion, but didn't get the Spencer Strider portion of these questions. Welsh, you get to decide whether or not you want to pass or play.
There's 2 more.
There are 6 more. There's 8 qualified starting.
Oh, pass. Take it, buddy. You have a blast. You have a good time.
Now I really regret not saying Strider.
You have a great time.
Oh,
right.
gosh.
Scott, you're up.
Over 14% swinging strike rate, you said?
Yep.
I got one in my head. I got a sneaky one, I think, in my head.
I'm
for the
blanking
steal.
already. Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole is incorrect. Garrett Cole down at 11.9% on the season.
It's been better recently.
Yes.
But that's not the question, is it? Okay, so I got to come up with some others here. 14% swinging strike rate. Let's go. Well, Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani, he is at 13.1%. That is your second strike, Scott.
Things are taking an ugly turn here.
Again, we have number 1 and 2 answers, Strider and McClanahan. Lead, baseball, and swinging strike rate.
Number 1 and 2 we got, but we need number 3, don't we? Number 3.
All we need is
Kevin Gausman.
3 through 8. Kevin Gausman this season. Incorrect.
Wow, really?
12.9%
Game is rigged.
strike rate for Kevin Gausman. All right, Welsh, you have the opportunity to steal here.
I have one name in my head the whole time. I never updated it. This is a huge throw. Please don't hate me. Jesus Luzardo is the only guy that was in my head.
Jesus Luzardo
Might be right.
is correct.
Let's go. Let's go.
And it's funny because Jesus Luzardo was also the name I wanted to highlight here on this list. He is the SP11 in both formats this season, in both roto and head-to-head points. 3.22 ERA, 1.15 whip, well over a strikeout per inning, and a 14.5% swinging strike rate for Jesus Luzardo. The other names that you guys missed, Luis Castillo, Domingo Germán, Blake Snell, Pablo Lopez, and Joe Ryan.
That was the greatest pass of all time in that game. No, with 20 strikes, there's no chance Scott and I got Domingo Germán on that list.
I just want to point out Luzardo might be one of the biggest innings concerns of all because he threw 112 innings last year. He's already passed his career high, surpassed it with 120 and a third this year. I'll probably let him go to like 150, but who knows how it's going to play out.
I had nothing else. That's all I had the whole time. I was like, Luzardo's the only one. I had nothing else, Frank. What a shot.
All right. Well, we've got the rubber match, the third and final question here. We kind of got to make it quick, too.
All right, we'll go.
Leave it to me. The only day with a 5-game slate. We're running long on a podcast, right? Anyway, final question. 6 relievers have 25 or more saves this season.
Glob.
Welsh was in first.
Number 1, Felix Bautista.
Felix Bautista is on the list. He is not the number 1 answer. Scott?
Ooh.
Trying to remember who has more saves than Felix Bautista. I am going to say...
I know a better answer.
Alexis Diaz.
Alexis Diaz is the number 2 answer. Felix Bautista was number 3. So
take it, Welsh. Take it. Get it out of here. Pass.
All right. You
so
are
I got 4 more?
There's 4 more. 6 names total with more than 25 saves in baseball this season.
25.
This might be pretty easy.
Hader?
Josh Hader is incorrect. He has 24. He just missed.
Okay, Jordan Romano is 1.
Jordan Romano said it with confidence.
Yes.
It is correct. He has 28 saves.
Oh, you dummy. What are the dummy answers that I'm forgetting because I'm being a dummy?
3 more names here on the list.
And I got Manuel Clase.
Manuel Clase is correct. He picked up his 28th save here on Thursday. 2 more names on the list.
More.
Over 25 saves this season.
Camilo Duvall?
Camilo Duvall is the number 1 answer. 31 saves this year. Welsh, you need 1 more to wrap up the game, and you still have 2 buzzes left.
You seem legitimately stressed.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm visualizing the teams right now. I don't think this is a good guess, and I'm going to put myself under serious pressure here. Ryan Presley?
Ryan Presley for the win. is incorrect. His 24
Yeah,
saves.
baby.
I'm gonna
All right,
botch this.
Welsh, you almost did it. One answer, one guess left.
The
Win it
final
all.
one. Estevez. Carlos Estevez.
That's your final answer. Carlos Estevez.
You know,
Carlos
this is
Estevez.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It's his final answer.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
All right. Carlos
I got to
Estevez.
get it right now.
23 saves. Scott White with a chance to steal and win our first and potentially only game of Fantasy Feud this season.
I think I know.
All right, Scott, you're up.
Don't do it.
Devin Williams.
Devin Williams for all the marbles, for the trophy, for the Fantasy Feud trophy to take down the Welsh is correct.
That's so easy. It's how did I get Duvall and didn't get Devin Williams? It's great. Yep.
Oh man, good stuff there. I mean, Welsh, you did a great job.
I
Getting
couldn't
all-
close it out. It was closers and I couldn't close the game.
You could not
I blew it.
The 6 relievers who lead baseball in saves right now: Camilo Doval, Alexis Diaz, Felix Bautista, Emmanuel Clase, Jordan Romano, and Devin Williams. 26 saves for Devin Williams. 17 of those since the start of June. He has been on fire lately. Scotty, great job, my friend.
Good job. Very good job. By the way, I mean, I'm Hater 24, Presley 24. I just want to point out, I picked 7, 8, and 9 on that list, and I botched it. Good job. You deserve the win. You deserve the win.
Thank you.
All right, Scott, and your prize now is that you get to give us all of the Week 19 sleepers. So let's jump into that, and we'll start things off with the schedule for next week. It's pretty spread out next week. 12 teams have 7 games, 16 teams have 6 games, and 2 unlucky teams have 5 games next week. The Tigers and the A's. I think we're probably staying away from both of those teams. Anyway, start or sit these 2-star pitchers. They might be on the fringe right now. And Scott, we'll start with you. Carlos Ro.
If I could just preface this with a couple things.
Sure.
First of all, this is like the most stacked list of 2-star pitchers ever. Usually the no thanks tier of the 2-star pitcher rankings for me is like half the list, maybe a third at least. And for this week, 30 of the 38 pitchers are in a tier higher than no thanks. So the majority of the list I'm recommending on some level. The other thing I need to preface it with is it's probably all bunk because of the trade deadline. Things are going to get shifted around so much unless it's just a really quiet deadline that maybe we shouldn't take any of these recommendations too seriously. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Start or sit these 2-star pitchers. Carlos Rodon is first up. He was better against the Mets. Still kind of shaky so far. And tough-ish matchups. I don't know how we rate Tampa Bay nowadays, but he's home against Tampa Bay, home against the Astros. Scott, start or sit Carlos Rodon.
I lean start with him just because I think he's got to get better at some point.
All right, next up is John Gray, who has been bad recently, but really good matchups going up against the White Sox and the Marlins. Welsh, start or sit John Gray next week.
I think I could get down with that one, especially if that White Sox team depletes itself a little bit and they're mix matching some lineups. I'll go with the start on that one.
Bryce Miller is coming off a start where he allowed 4 home runs to the Minnesota Twins. He is facing the Red Sox, and he's at the Angels. Scott, start or sit?
I'm going to lean yes on him too.
All right, Taijuan Walker, he's been kind of bland. He was good for a while and then just kind of bland now. But great matchups as well, going up against the Marlins and the Royals. Welsh, start or sit Taijuan Walker?
He's a little blat to me, but if you are trying to play those extra innings in the 2 starts, the Kansas City matchup is great. The Miami matchup is pretty solid. I think I could do this one, even though I kind of don't want to. I like the next one much better, but I'll say yes.
All right, the next one is Yusei Kikuchi, who has pitched better recently, but some scary matchups here up against the Orioles and at the Red Sox. Scott, start or sit Kikuchi?
So I have him in the points league only category. I do have Walker a tier higher. But it sounds like Welsh would reverse the 2 in priority.
All right.
I think so.
Well, Welsh, you get Jack Flaherty, who we don't know if he's going to be on the Cardinals anymore, but he is facing the Twins, who strike out an absurd amount, and he's facing the Rockies, who are on the road. What do you think about Jack Flaherty?
I actually don't like this one. I know Flaherty has had his moments. I don't have a lot of trust. Also, this team is going to be a little bit dicey. If I were putting all my eggs in the 2-start basket, I think I would actually go away from this one. Expected numbers still kind of close to the ERA. Still a 4.5 guy who's walking 4 per 9 and under 9K per 9. The matchups aren't like, crazy worrisome, but I would avoid.
All right. Well, there's only one way to wrap up this discussion, and that's with good old Lance Lynn, Scott, at the Rangers and at the Guardians.
Yeah, Lance Lynn and Flaherty both, believe it or not, are among the 8 pitchers in the no thanks category.
All right. We finally done it. We've severed our ties to Lance Lynn. We are done until he gets traded to Tampa Bay, and he's awesome. 2-star pitchers to add and stream. There are 9 names on this list. Scott mentioned it is a robust list this week. Who are the names here, Scotty?
So Ranger Suarez has cooled off recently, but his matchups this week, same as Taijuan Walker, at Miami versus KC. He's my favorite sleeper pitcher for this week. He's good at limiting damage, if nothing else. And that might just mean 6 shutout innings against those 2 lineups. Kyle Gibson, who has pitched very well of late at Toronto versus the Mets. Those are both not terrible matchups, actually. Seth Lugo, even though his first start is at Colorado, with the way he's pitched recently, a second start's against the Dodgers, by the way, so 2 tough matchups. Rockies lineup, even in Colorado, is it really that tough? I don't know. That's an argument we could have. But I think Seth Lugo is a decent start. I trust the profile. Even with those matchups, JP France, he gets the Guardians, and he's at the Yankees. Yankees are going to have Judge back by that point, though. So not as favorable of a matchup as it has been. Jose Quintana at KC, at Baltimore, one good matchup, one less than good, but in a big ballpark there in Baltimore. Domingo Germán against the Rays and the Astros. Hey, he's one of 8 pitchers with better than a 14% swinging strike rate. Edward Cabrera against the Phillies at the Rangers. Not the greatest matchups. Very hit or miss pitcher, but, it could be that he gives you a lot of strikeouts this week with those 2 starts. Griffin Canning, same thing at Atlanta versus Seattle. One not so great matchup, one pretty good matchup. Johan Oviedo, 2 great matchups here against the Tigers and at the Brewers. And he's coming off a good start. He's been pretty good lately, just all in all. So, if you're really looking for volume, your opponent has 5 2-star pitchers in his lineup for this week, you might want to pick up Oviedo. And then Taj Bradley at Detroit. He's pitched better of late. That's a really good matchup, obviously.
All right, let's slide over to the hitters. Best hitter matchups for next week. The Brewers, the Reds, Phillies, Padres, and Giants. The worst hitter matchups, A's, Tigers, Red Sox, Angels, and the Rangers. With that being said,
by the way, Taj Bradley was just 1 start. I included him with the 2-star pitchers because I had him as a sleeper pitcher, but that was just the 1 start at Detroit. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into sleeper hitters here. Mentioned the Brewers have the best matchups. I mentioned Carlos Santana as among my sleeper hitters this week. As a result, we'll see if he gets his new career with Milwaukee off to a bang. Sal Frelick is another Brewer that I'd consider starting with those good matchups. Reds have the second best matchups, as you pointed out. 3 lefties on the schedule in their 7 games. They have a lot of left-handed hitters in their lineup, and they're the ones that are most available. I do like TJ Friedl and Will Benson for this week, though, because of the left-handed hitters. Those are the 2 that get starts against left-handers sometimes. And the matchups are favorable, as I said. Cubs rotation, Nationals rotation in 7 games. Friedel's been cold, but I don't think that's going to be a long-standing issue. Maybe these matchups will be enough for him to get out of it. Seiya Suzuki's been hot. He's on this list. Chas McCormick, hot. He's on this list. Jack Sawinski's been hot, and when he's hot, he's very hot. Only 1 left-hander on the schedule for the Pirates. Jock Peterson with the Giants having the 5th best matchup and only 1 lefty on the schedule. I think we give him a look. Wilmer Flores, who's been the Giants' hottest hitter. And I think that covers everybody. Oh, number 1 on the list, didn't mention him, Lars Nootbaar, who is quite hot, and the Cardinals' matchups are pretty solid.
Yeah, come on. We can't forget about Lars Nootbaar, baby. Turning it on here in July. So I do like that recommendation as well. Where are we using Shohei Ohtani next week? Look, how can how can you determine, right? I think it comes down to what you need. It's like, look what he just did on Thursday, right? You can literally choose either one. He's at the Braves next week as a pitcher. He also has 7 games next week, but facing some tough competition. The 4th worst hitter matchups next week. Welsh, if you had to choose, which way do you lean? Ohtani as a hitter or pitcher next week?
And I do have to choose in the Scott White League with my Ohtani. But I have been pretty steadily needed pitching the whole time. But in this case, I would go hitting. I don't love the Atlanta matchup in general. We've seen some of the scuffling. There's just so... I mean, I know you're saying there's some tough matchups in there, but I think there's some of these that are prime for Ohtani. So I like the hitter version of Ohtani if having to choose.
By the way, Ohtani versus Strider next week, that's going to be
good at
gold. I don't know if they're pitching against each other, but just hitter Ohtani versus the pitcher Strider. It's going to be awesome to watch. The call to
I think they... Oh, no, they're not. Sorry. They're not lined up to pitch against each other. Damn.
That would have been sick. A few bullpen updates. Emmanuel Class A, mentioned this earlier. He picked up his 28th save. And for the Mets, I wrote here, David Robertson last pitched on Tuesday. So weird. Should have been available. And then he got traded. So that's why it didn't happen. Brooks Raley picked up the save there for the Mets. Let's wrap up with to stream or not to stream. And we'll start with Friday. And I will point out yesterday, Chris and I both said this Friday might be the worst streaming pitcher day of the season. It is very bad.
Okay.
Oh, no, I thought you guys were going to choose names, but I guess I should read them off, right? That's my job.
I'm having trouble opening the rundown here, so.
I can throw some names out. I thought we all froze. That was an amazing thing. But you go ahead and read them off, and then I'll throw in.
Like Reese Olson at the Marlins. Does anyone like that?
I actually like Reese. Reese is one I think I could get down with. Maybe Brady Singer if I was chasing strikeouts against Minnesota. Just throwing these out here. Cutter Crawford, it's not great, but if I needed to, I think those are the 3 I might focus on.
We want to get back on board the Braxton Garrett bandwagon against the Tigers?
I didn't include him because I thought he was too rostered, but
yeah, I think his ownership is too high. I would definitely get down on that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I might rather start Olsen, his opponent, but okay. I didn't know he was that rostered still.
Garrett, he is 79%. I try to keep it below 75, but hey, he might be there on the fringe. I do like it against the Tigers. On Saturday, a couple names here that we are looking at. Logan Allen at the White Sox, maybe. Johnny Cueto versus the Tigers, coming off a great start last week.
I mean, you scroll down, you got Emmett Sheehan versus Cincy and Brian Wu versus Arizona. I could get down with that. If you took those 2 off, I'll actually throw this out to you. I might even go like, I just said Reese Olson is like my favorite. Maybe a guy like Cutter Crawford over most of these guys from the day before. Giants, by the way, striking out the second most over the last 3 games, over almost 12 Ks per 9 as of recent. And just, I don't know, Cutter Crawford can get in there. I don't like these names. I don't like Logan Allen. I don't like Carrasco. I don't like any of these. I could get with Wu and Sheehan, but as much as you guys hated Friday, I might like some of the Friday matchups more than
Sheehan,
Saturday.
Really? Against the Reds? I'd definitely go Allen over Sheehan.
Yeah. Like, I think Wu and Sheehan are, kind of interesting prospects, but don't really love the matchups, I guess, for either of those two. I think I would go with Logan Allen, and I guess if you're desperate, Johnny Cueto. that's the other name I would throw out there. Sunday, we've got Christopher Sanchez at the Pirates, which I think is pretty solid. And, these 2 names going up against each other, Steven Matz and Kyle Hendricks, they're facing each other. I don't think it's terrible. Matz has pitched well recently.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass.
I mean,
but yeah.
Okay.
Look, it's streamer pitchers. It's only going to be so good. This is why I hate this segment.
That's right. Yeah. So I think Christopher Sanchez is at the top of the list. Then I would probably put Kyle Hendricks second and Steven Matz third on that list. Today's glob counter ends at, because I just said it, 9. So we got 9 for the day. So again, please drink responsibly. Do not play that game whenever you hear us say that word.
We're all dead. Don't do it.
We're going to wrap there for Scott and the Welsh. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. We'll be back again next week. Bye-bye.